from the beginning.
All right. So let's go into the pros and cons of paleo dieting.
All right. We already touched on the biggest con, which was going ketogenic. That was more because I was a glutton for punishment at the beginning and doing it the hardest way possible, going ultra low carb. And once fruit was reintroduced, I felt a lot better. I actually felt better once I adjusted after the ketogenic, after those first few days were gone. But it was nice. It was refreshing to have fruit back as part of the rotation. And one of the interesting things, as would be a pro, that I discovered was I didn't really miss a lot of the things that I gave up. I've gone back to them now. I should do that in the interest of full disclosure. I've gone back and tried them. I've tried pasta, bread, beer, all those things, because I didn't want to be like, oh, this is, I will never try this again. I needed to try it to at least see pancakes to see how they tasted. Some of them taste good. Some of them, surprisingly, like pasta and white potatoes, taste like absolutely nothing. It's more like what you cover them with, and you could put that over spaghetti, squash, or meat. You could put it over a lot of things.
Right.
So that was a pro. That was a surprising pro to me. Energy level, I said I was doing a lot of stuff at the time.
Yep.
After that intense ketogenic change, I found my energy level as high or higher than it was before, and my mood was fantastic. So no loss there. And before, I have to say, I would have rated myself very high on an energy and an attitude scale, like 5 out of 5 for me personally, compared to what I know. And afterwards, I was right back there.
And just to point out briefly too, we increased your workload during this time period that we changed your diet over, and you still performed, as far as I'm concerned, performed just as well as you would have performed on your other diet previously, energy-wise.
Definitely.
But at the same time, you leaned out from 195 just about to 165. So considering that we didn't do any caloric deficit whatsoever during that time, and considering that we totally changed your diet over, I think it was fairly successful, not fairly, extremely successful, considering that we increased your workload and completely changed your diet over into a fat-burning diet.
Right.
So just wanted to throw that out there.
And I'd say another pro is cost. Some of this food, was it more expensive? It is more expensive to eat vegetables and fruit than junk food. Some of the meats that we chose, grass-fed, are more expensive than the alternatives. You can look at it a few ways. One would be, how much is your health worth? This food tastes better, it makes you feel better. So it's not even just about long-term health. It's about, do I have the energy to go out and do something fun today? Or do I just come home after getting through the grind of work and want to go to sleep? There's something to be gained there. And also, I would say, this is a pro/con, not drinking, as I went really hardcore. It was, I didn't even have tequila was suggested as an alternative if I wanted to drink during this period. I said no to that because, again, I'm a glutton for punishment.
I also offered Dan the opportunity to cheat once after the first 2 weeks, and then once a week, like one day after the first 2 weeks, and then once a week after that, and he declined.
Just said no. Glutton for punishment. That's it.
Yeah.
But the money I saved from not drinking more than offset
the cost of the experiment.
The experiment, supplements, the multivitamin I took, the protein, and then the extra cost in food.
And another thing worth noting too, we didn't use very many supplements at all. I had Dan buy fish oil, which the pharmaceutical grade fish oil that you can get at Whole Foods even right now for a little bottle that'll probably last you about a month is only like $17. So I wasn't increasing the amount of money that he was having to spend on this by very much. I did tell him about grass-fed meats, and the opportunity to take in grass-fed meat whenever possible it's great. It has many benefits, which is going over in Rob Wolf's book extensively. Might as well talk about it right now. Rob Wolf's book, fantastic book. It obviously heavily influenced this entire experiment that Dan went through, and heavily influences my process of doing things with people. And obviously extremely successful from what we've seen. Yeah, Rob Wolf is a fantastic guy. Really love his blog. Puts out so much information for free, and then just came up with this fantastic book.
It's very accessible. I would suggest it to anyone. Yeah, it's very accessible.
It's not an expensive book. Hardcover. Just fantastic overall.
Yeah.
So a ton of information in it.
I would say there, to get back to the alcohol stuff real quick, that was, just a pro. It was an interesting social experiment on top of this physical experiment in terms of training and eating to see how much I actually spend in a given month going out and getting drinks and buying beer, even though, like I said, I consider myself a moderate or a low moderate drinker. It was interesting. It's a significant amount, and that's not to say that I wouldn't drink in the future. Tequila, maybe, but it didn't impact my social life that much. I went to parties, I still had a good time. That did take a little bit of getting used to and getting comfortable with and adjusting, but I wouldn't consider that to be a con necessarily, cutting down on the drinking.
Did a lot of people bust their chops about
surprisingly, no. At the beginning, some people did. They usually just leave you alone. If you don't bite, you kind of got to figure out who can you talk to about it, who can't you talk to, and when you start talking to them and they really just wanted to get you go and they're not listening, then probably not worth continuing the conversation. Some people do get interested, then you might want to continue the discussion. But it helps to just have some kind of pat answers. I wouldn't always get into it with people about why I wasn't drinking on a given night. You shouldn't feel obligated to drink all the time when you go out.
Right.
I told some people I was a Muslim, at least once, people that didn't know me at all, and they bought it. I had the beard was much bushier at the time, but so that works. I wouldn't condone necessarily lying to people, but if it gets them off your back, just so you can have fun, yeah.